I'm Sean Myers, joined by the first-year head coach of the Norwin Knights baseball program, Craig Spisak, as his team's about to embark in the 6A postseason. And first off, congratulations. I know it was kind of a tough start to the 2023 campaign, Craig, but you really got things rolling late in the season. What maybe changed that allowed your team to go on a much more successful late season surge as opposed to the beginning?
Thanks for having me, first of all. And then the answer to your question would be probably just the gaining of experience for these guys. A lot of these guys came into the season without varsity experience or significant varsity experience. So the fact that they just got their feet wet, I think, helped them out a lot.
Is this something that you kind of expected your team would be a playoff contender and ultimately be able to get into the postseason when you took over this program?
Historically, yes. I mean, Norwin's had a great program throughout the years, and your goal every year, you hope, is to make the playoffs and hopefully do well.
I'm sure you're well aware of the guys who moved on from a year ago. This team lost a lot. So to your point, there wasn't a ton of guys who had major experience coming back, but who are some of the players who have been through the rigors of a regular season and a postseason that you've noticed that maybe the younger players have leaned upon?
Our two guys that had the most experience coming into the season, Chris Slatt at first base and Ty Cup, our catcher, were probably the two that the kids most leaned on. Unfortunately, Ty got injured early in the year, and Jake Murray came in and did a great job behind the plate for us. Ryan Oros on the mound had a great year for us. He had a lot of experience in the previous season pitching. So those guys were probably the most we leaned on. Justin Weaver, I know, played a little bit last year and could lean back on and rely on that experience as well.
Now about 20 games into this season, I'm sure you have a pretty good gauge for exactly what type of team you have. What do you think are the best strengths?
Our grittiness, our toughness. I just like how we compete and get after it. That's probably I know it's a vague category to say, but it's a number. It's a category you can't put a number on, but I just like how we get after it and compete.
How important ultimately was it to win the last two series that you had of the season against Central Catholic and then against your rival Hempfield area?
It was for us to get in. We needed that. If we lose that series at Pittsburgh Central, we are probably watching the playoffs right now. The Hempfield series determined where we fell at that point, 3 or 4. But both series were very important for us. If we don't win those series, we're probably collecting uniforms.
I know it's a little bit more straightforward in 6A since there's only 2 sections, but you get the number 7 seed and you're going against number 2 North Allegheny. How did that align with what you expected heading into the bracket release?
100% aligned with what I expected. We expected to get North Allegheny. They finished in a 3-way tie for first in their section, and the way the tiebreaker broke, it looked like they would finish, put them in that second slot.
And so that section gets to both number 1 and number 2 seeds. And I know that there's some great ball played all across 6A, but North Allegheny is one of those teams that I think every year you can say is a title favorite or certainly at least a playoff contender. When you look at the Tigers, what jumps out about them in the program that they've built?
Oh, the pedigree of players they have. When we played them earlier in the year, they are loaded with talent, from the top of the order to the bottom, and from the catcher to the pitching staff, the whole way around that infield and outfield. They're the program that everyone strives to be. They are very, very great program.
And so I'm guessing you have to make some significant strides from the first time you played them. It seems like your team is much more, I guess, well-suited for the opportunity the second time around, but they won pretty lopsided back in March. So what do you have to do differently this time?
Hopefully not give up 10 runs. They beat us up pretty good. They can hit the ball. They can pitch. It's going to be a tough challenge for us. We have a tall order to fill. We hopefully will minimize and play some clean baseball and minimize the opportunities that they have, but it's going to be a challenge nonetheless.
I mentioned it's your first year at Norwin, but you've had a lot of success as a head coach. Obviously, your time at York, where you were able to get into the postseason. So for the players that are maybe suiting up for the first time in playoff baseball, what's your message to them before that game?
One pitch at a time. You don't. This game is as equal as any other game we played before. It's hard for kids to to buy into that at times because but if you treat every game the same, no matter you're playing someone that's winless or someone that's undefeated, and your approach is the same on the mound, in the field, and at the plate, then hopefully the opponent's irrelevant, and the day of the week and the time of the year is irrelevant. Just go out and play.
Lastly, I know it's your first year in 6A baseball as a head man, and you joined right when they changed to a 3-game series that I think most coaches really liked. Now you're back to the single game for the postseason. Is there any adjustment, and do you think ultimately you will get potentially series in the postseason at some point in time?
I love the 3-game series. I think it's a great thing for baseball. I think it's the way baseball is supposed to be played. Colleges do it, pros do it, and I know high school it's a little different ball game with the number of players you have and the length of the season. But it's the playoffs. It's a little different now. It's one game and move on. So you have to play to win and fire all the bullets out of your gun, so to speak, whatever it takes to win that game. But I think down the road, especially in 6A with only 8 teams in the playoffs, I think they can. If anyone's going to do it first, it's going to be 6A, where they would have series for either the semis and or the finals.
Well, hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. I think that would be great for everyone. I know that that's something that certainly many coaches would support. Craig, thank you so much for doing this. Congrats once again on making the postseason, and good luck heading into it.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.